If they did not want that to air, they would have paid Netflix millions and millions and millions of dollars to scrap the project. Yeah. Not only are they going ahead with the project, now it's the rise and fall. Bro, there was no fall before this.
All right, let's talk about Mark Henry. Coming to Vince McMahon's defense, man. A lot of people saying things about Vince McMahon with everything. He's got a Netflix documentary that's coming out. Yeah, so that's going to be very interesting. So
yeah, funny. You film a documentary expecting. It's hard to say anything normal because you're dealing with professional wrestling, entertainment as a whole, and Vince McMahon as a person. But then this, what a climax!
Yeah, yes, indeed. He, Vince McMahon, he's got to make sure that in some ways he's got to stay relevant, man. So Mark Henry defended him, and he said this. He said he's going through a tough time, and all of the stuff that happened recently and stuff. I never saw none of that. I never heard no negativity like that. Him playing a D joke on me was the worst of it. Like, where I felt like, okay, that infringed on the business, but it was nothing remotely bad that I had to say about Vince. And I took some heat for saying that before. People were like, you're being insensitive, and there's other people that suffered. I said, yeah, but some of those people that y'all talking about suffering, their suffering got worse when the money ran out. So,
bro, can I bring up something else?
Indeed.
I got to get my conspiracy theory music.
Yes.
Come on, man. Here it is.
Boom, 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 boom. There we go.
Bro, this is very interesting. See, these are the things nobody looks at. We got to look at this. This is very interesting. This documentary is coming out on Netflix.
Oh.
The WWE Raw is going on Netflix.
Wow.
Now, is this an intentional hit piece to let people know? Listen, they're coming over to Netflix, but this guy don't have anything to do with this company anymore. Think about that, bro. They're going to play this very, very controversial documentary on the same network that Raw is going to start. Chris, what do you think is behind that?
Wow.
It would make sense if the WWE has a lot to do with this to give them the buzz that they need to move over to Netflix, to bring a different type of crowd that is used to documentaries. That's what it seems like that would be the motive for that.
Man, I love how you pieced it together, Uncle Vince. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. The 2 + 2, it was right there in front of my face.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. What do you think, Vince?
I think it's going to be a hit piece. I think with them going over to Netflix, they want to make it clear this man is no longer a part of this company. That's what I think. It's really weird, bro. They're going to have both these things on the same network.
But isn't he a part of it though?
See, I think, bro, that was the original one. I don't think this is the original one that was intended, bro. I don't think. I really don't. What do you think, EC3?
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to delve into the world of conspiracies and the long-term planning, perhaps this all was set up for this moment. Maybe they knew things were coming. Maybe they planned accordingly. Maybe the 4-year journey did have this conclusive dramatic Act 3 into the final oblivion of Vince Kennedy McMahon to then launch the newly rebranded WWE within Netflix. I think about conspiracy theories. It seems like more often than not, especially now, they are true. So I'm buying exactly what you're selling.
There you go. I think I think we'll really see where the direction of WWE is going to go, or if they had anything to do with assembling this together. If Vince McMahon is in the documentary, if it's a hit piece, I do think it's a more direct version of saying, Vince, we don't need you anymore. The subtle way was the intros for WrestleMania. When, Shane McMahon was, when Stephanie came out and was putting over Triple H and things like that, that was more of like a, kind of a middle finger to Vince in the sense, and saying that, we are officially, this is the first WrestleMania officially without Vince McMahon. And if it's a hit piece, it's saying that this is officially the end of Vince McMahon and all things WWE. So if it is a hit piece, that would be the case. I think if Vince is a part of it, though, then that draws up, could there be some type of cahoots? So,
yeah, interesting.
Yep.
But you want to get back? You want to get back to Mark Henry?
Oh, yeah.
No, go ahead, EC3. Go ahead.
Say real fast.
Check out BrainBuster, the daily quiz that tests your WWE knowledge with winning streaks, stats, and more. It's time to see if you're up for the challenge.
So this started about 4 years ago, and in theory, to start a process like this, the subject has to sign over likeness and things of that nature, right? So was it the long plan to get him to sign it and they're going to talk to him, and then behind it, all the hit stuff is like kind of like dropping, and how they will creatively edit it, I guess, in post.
Yeah.
But he will be in it, and he'll probably be featured, and he'll probably have a bunch of speaking roles. And then anytime I think of news, documentaries, anything fake, I remember that episode of The Simpsons where the newscaster was doing the interview with Homer Simpson, and it was so deceptively edited because they had the clock behind them, and it just kept shifting times and like burying Homer in different ways. Like he kept saying, taken out of context and things like that. Imagine that. So yeah, we're going to have ourselves a little Matt Groening special here.
There you go. Imagine that, man. I know you're not saying that because no one ever takes anything that EC3 says out of context, ever. No one ever does that. Never.
Or blatantly make it up.
Yep. Never. Vince, what do you think about the Mark Henry comments?
Bro, I got to be honest. Like, it's the bad mouthing of Vince bothers me, man, because we don't know. You don't know. I'm not defending him by any means. You don't know, bro. None of us know, and you keep pounding on this guy, and I just constantly keep thinking to myself, like, what if the dude is innocent? You know what I'm saying? I mean, what if this was a money grab? Like, we don't know. And that's why, I mean, it's obviously, I guess Mark Henry still keeps in touch with him. I mean, that's what it sounds like anyway.
Yeah.
But it's like, bro, you don't, you could be Vince's best friend. I could be Vince's greatest enemy. Neither one of us know what happened, man.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, God, Ronda Rousey's beating him up. I mean, Bret Hart's beating him up. I mean, I won't do that, bro, because we don't know.
Yeah, I will say this. I think, someone like a Ronda Rousey beating him up, I don't necessarily mind that because that was just her experience there. You know what I mean? So Bret Hart, I mean, it's that's just kind of his shtick now. You know what I mean? That's kind of his gimmick. And, they were supposed to make amends. I guess they did, or at least they were supposed to. But, I mean, Bret Hart definitely falls into what Mark Henry's saying as far as just, the suffering part and the money, but it was more of a business thing. I mean, he suffered he hated being in WCW. He talks about that all the time. So, and he loved being in WWE from, I mean, of course you would know that more than any of us on the screen, Vince, working with him very closely in WWE. I think, when it comes to Vince McMahon, it's really a matter of what was your personal experience. I mean, now there could be commentary on his moral failures. You know, my philosophy and my perspective on that, man, is, I mean, if that's the case, how about you open up the closet of each and every one of us and talk about moral failures? I mean, we can definitely go that route, and no one wants to do that. I do think that as a public figure, though, it's easier talking about moral failures. And if it's at the expense of someone else, belittling someone else, abusing someone else, even if it's not sexual, even if it's verbal. So Ronda Rousey's comments is more about her experience with Vince McMahon as a boss. And so, I don't have a negative take toward that. But if it's just someone saying, yeah, man, I think Vince McMahon is just a spawn of Satan, you know, is this one of these journalists or something like that, or these sheet writers? How would you know? I mean, you've never talked to him a day in your life, and what are you commenting on? What, you know, someone said who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone who worked with Vince. And so it's really not a blanket type of perspective, in my opinion. So what do you think about that, Vince?
Well, you know, bro, see, I think people are forgetting the very, very roots of this. Like when you know, the Vince I know, the Vince Mark Henry knows. Bro, at the end of the day, this all started with literally Vince was having sex with women, whether they were in the company or out of the company or whatever, and having them sign an NDA because he did not want that going out.
Yeah.
The Vince McMahon I know, could that have happened? Absolutely. Vince didn't like females. Vince wasn't hitting on women. Absolutely, that could have happened. And, you know, Vince, whatever, before we do this, we're going to sign an agreement. So 100% that absolutely could have happened. But what people are forgetting, though, bro, is, you know, it was said that, if you remember, bro, before Janelle Grant, the NDA story already broke.
Yep.
So one of the stories going around was that Janelle Grant was the one that had a friend of hers break the story. And supposedly, you know, in Vince's mind, she broke the NDA, and that's when he stopped paying her.
Yep.
So now you get back to Mark Henry's comments. Well, nobody had a problem until they stopped getting paid. So that's why I'm saying, bro, it could literally be that simple where he thought, maybe his lawyer said, hey, Vince, listen, bro, by her putting out this information, she broke the NDA. You don't have to pay her. And Vince not paying her. And now, you know, does she make up all the, you know, you don't know, bro. But if you ask me, yeah, would Vince have paid hush money to keep his sex life a secret? Yeah, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. And he hasn't denied that. He hasn't denied that, bro.
Yeah. EC3, along the lines what I was talking about, you know, it is really, it really boils down to what was your personal experience with Vince McMahon. You know, was he a bad ball? You know, to a Ronda Rousey, he was just the scum of the earth. To a Mark Henry, you know, he got my kids in college. You know what I mean? Like that. Well, that's really what it boils down to based on their personal experience. Now, your personal experience with Vince McMahon working there wasn't as pleasant, you know, and you had some experiences with Vince McMahon that weren't as commendable or something to really hold your head up high. But at the end of the day, you know, the WWE was able to give you a good living, you know what I mean? So you being someone who was really kind of had the best of both worlds, like good money, but bad booking, or, you know what I mean? So your thoughts on that from someone who had the best of both worlds of both sides there.
Well, excuse me. You can only really judge somebody about your personal experiences and, you know, interactions with them. And, you know, our relationship was not nearly as thorough or as close of a working relationship with Ronda, or especially Mark. Mark owes a lot to him because he had a very sustained long career, and like you said, put kids through college and set them up for life, and kudos to that. Ronda personally worked with him a bunch because she was on top as a female, and especially where she was coming from, where mine were like very, and I think we talked about before, brief and indifferent. And I think the same thing stands where I said, if he heard words, something happened to me, or I disappeared off the face of the earth, or I got blown up, shooting myself out of a cannon, he'd probably go, who? Or, not care, not even give it a second thought. Whereas his fate and his, future legacy and his name, I have the exact same feelings for. It's kind of indifference. Worked for him, not closely with him. Very few experiences. I wouldn't say any were horrible. I would say the context of how I felt about things that took place, I did not care for, but the personal experiences were not horrible. And again, I did not have a very close relationship, so yeah, I'm indifferent, really.
Yeah, it's really an interesting thing, man. And I think that's what makes this this saga just riveting. It's just so many people have so many different takes on Vince McMahon, and I think that what makes him really. So
what's funny, Chris? Going back to the Netflix thing, okay? Here's something that's very interesting. They are promoting this as the rise and fall of Vince McMahon. Bro, that's not how they were promoting it before. And bro, come on, let's face it, Chris, you and I both know, bro, if they did not want that to air, they would have paid Netflix millions and millions and millions of dollars to scrap the project. Yeah. Not only are they going ahead with the project, now it's the rise and fall. Bro, there was no fall before this. There was no fall when they originally signed this series. So think about that, bro. If they didn't want this to come out, it would not come out. Bro, they could have held that up in the negotiations. They could have basically said, yeah, part of the negotiations is you're going to scrap that whole Vince McMahon thing.
What's the name of the doc?
The way it's being promoted, they're promoting it is the rise and fall Madman or something, bro.
From something to Madman, Millionaire to Mad or something like that.
It's interesting how karma comes full circle, and then like if you can think about the multitude of people that he's probably had rise and falls of displayed via his product, because he controlled the narrative, and now karma rears its head and usually does fall on you, oftentimes 2 to 5 times fold of what you've done. So be a good person. Your life won't suck.
It's 6 1-hour episodes. So it's called Mr. McMahon, and then the subtitle is what is this, from something to Madman? So it should be really interesting to see how it's going to be. I mean, now it's just your mastermind. Okay, so one side, it's him being a puppet master of his own self, and one side says mastermind, other side says madman. So I don't know if that really, like promotes a rise and fall though. So. But we'll see. We'll see. We don't. It says here we go. Here's the description. Here's the synopsis from Netflix. It says, Mr. McMahon chronicles the rise and fall of Vince McMahon, controversial businessman and co-founder of WWE, from his transformation of the WWE from a small regional business into a global entertainment powerhouse to the explosive sexual misconduct allegations that led to his eventual resignation. This 6-episode series offers a deep dive into McMahon's life and is an enduring franchise, culled from over 200 hours of interviews with McMahon himself prior to his resignation, his family members, business associates, and some of the most iconic names in wrestling history, as well as the journalists who uncovered McMahon's allegations. Filmmaker Chris Smith, Tiger King, and executive producer Bill Simmons, 30 for 30, present an unflinching, no-holds-barred look at one of the most enigmatic figures in sports entertainment. So So we both were right. So it is a rise and fall, but it's also interviews from Vince himself too. So,
bro, let me put it to you.
We'll see.
Bro, nobody called me for an interview. So whoever got interviewed for this show had the blessing of Vince McMahon to be interviewed for this until they get to the part where he's not with the company anymore.
Yeah.
At that point, it's gloves off, bro, you know?
And then they said they interviewed journalists who uncovered. So I wonder who's a part of I know that what New York Times was the
bro. If there's wrestling journalists on there, bro, like
you already know, man. It's gonna be I ain't gonna say any names, but I'm sure that you have names in mind.
Hold on.
Did you guys ever see Airplane?
Oh yeah,
of course. Mm-hmm. In the scene where the old lady's kind of like freaking out and everyone's trying to like get her bearings. And, you know, the pot, like Leslie Nielsen comes by and he like shakes her a little bit and he slaps her.
Yeah.
Like once Vince was out of that, I just can imagine the woodworking of like
absolutely
and journalists and people he spited just lining up. Like, you know, the whole flight was behind her ready to, and like guys are hitting clubs and like putting on brass knuckles. And like they're all just gonna shake that tree.
Bro, I don't know. I swear to God, EC3. I swear, this is the first time I ever heard this story. I had always said all along, when it comes to a union in wrestling, EC3, I've been saying this for 25 years. Bro, you got to pull it the night of WrestleMania. You got to say, back then they had to say, Vince, nobody is going out there until we get A, B, C, D, E, and F, right? Because he's screwed. There's no way. He's screwed.
No.
Bro, I was seeing Chris Van Vliet interview Jesse. And that's what Jesse did at WrestleMania too. He before the show, he said, guys, now is our opportunity. We're not performing tonight unless he has 2 union representatives down here in an hour. And so, yeah, bro, the night of WrestleMania. And then Jesse said, Hulk ratted him out, man. Hulk dropped the dime on him, and it all came out in deposition. It all came out. So he knows. I mean, that's a fact. But I've always said that, bro. If the boys united the night of a WrestleMania, they could have gotten whatever they wanted.
Yeah, like the thing with the union would be, and this was always, there was never, don't quote me, never, ever, ever serious talks I've ever been a part of or around. But when it was discussed in hindsight and complete hyperbole, the requirement would be the top guys have to come. And why would they?
Right.
Especially in the fact, like, at that time, too, they are the ones earning, they are the ones drawing. How much do they have to give up to bring other people up with them that could be lazy, complacent, not very talented, things like that. So,
yeah, that's very true. Yep.
Indeed.